Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Truthiverse with your host, Brendan D. Murphy, on healthylife.net radio. And this episode, I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by who you might call the godfather of conspiracy research and research into secret societies, the hidden power structure that runs the world, and so much more. And his name is Jordan Maxwell. He virtually bears no introduction, but absolutely honored to have him here with me. Jordan, thanks so much for taking the time to have a chat today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I like being here.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So, well, let's get into it. We're going to talk secret societies. We're going to talk the manipulation of planet Earth, humanity. We're going to touch on the COVID-19 scamdemic. Where do you want to start here, Jordan? What's the first place your brain goes?
Well, I think we should start at the beginning, and that is a long time ago, like 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. The ancient Chinese said that there was 9 emperors who founded the nation of China. 9 emperors. But in Egypt, the Egyptians said there were 9 gods who came and started the Egyptian society and controlled the whole world. And then on the back of the dollar bill, you will see an eagle, and the eagle represents the eagle of Rome. It's a Roman eagle. And the eagle only has 2 wings. It has a left wing and a right wing. So that's why we have a left-wing politics and right wing. But the eagle on the back of the dollar bill has 9 tail feathers. And the 9 tail feathers stand for the 9 ancient gods of Egypt that founded the country of Egypt. They were called the 9 ancient gods. And so the tail feather directs the flight of the eagle. And so there are 9 tail feathers. If you look on the back of a $1 bill from America, he has 9 tail feathers. And the tail feathers guide the eagle in his flight. And so what we're talking about is the number 9. The Chinese said that they had 9 emperors that founded China. The Egyptians said they had 9 gods, ancient gods that founded Egypt. And there are other cultures that talk about the founders of the world of mankind being 9. There were 9 founders, 9 ancient gods. While I was doing the research on that, I came across the fact that during the early ages, Middle Ages, they talked about the 9 gods, the extraterrestrials who came to the earth, and they called themselves Akhenaten. Collectively, they were all known as Akhenaten. And therefore we have a Pharaoh Akhenaten who was doing the will of the 9 gods that directed him. And so today we are dominated by all of Egypt. Egypt dominates the world today, and the 9 gods of Egypt dominate Pharaoh Akhenaten. And it's a really interesting story when you get into the 9 gods that did so much, supposedly, for mankind to direct our destiny, to create us, to create our life. And there were 9 of them. And I think it's interesting because 9 months in a pregnancy, 9 seems to be collectively used in numerology as 9 is very important. 3 is for God, but 3 times 3 is 9. And so I just think it's very interesting. Everything in the ancient world was supposedly done by 9 fearless leaders. And today we have 9 tail feathers on the Roman eagle. The eagle was a Roman symbol for the sun, because the ancient Egyptians believed the sun ran across the sky and walked across the sky in 12 steps. And his name was Horus, as a god Horus. And he is spelled Horus. But today we turn it around and make it Hours. 12 hours. No, it's 12 Horuses, because Horus walks across the sky in 12 steps. is the first 12-step program. Like your watch, it starts at 12 and ends at 12. And it's 12 numbers in between. And so it's a 12-step program. And so the story goes back in the ancient world, the prehistoric and most ancient times, that there were 12 gods. And then, and 12 times that in the day that the sun moved was called Horus of the first step. It was Horus of the second step, Horus of the third. And when he got to the sixth step, he was the most high God, because the sun doesn't get any higher than noon. So he was a noon, he was high noon. He was the most high God. But still going back to that number 9, it's very interesting to me that 9 was the use of 9 founders of the ancient world, ancient civilizations that created us and guide our destiny. And so today we have the same identical situation we had 7,000 years ago. Secret societies, secret people who are leading our destiny, who are guiding the whole human race towards something. We're all being guided by somebody. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's 9 spirit entities or extraterrestrials, what our government calls EBs. EBE, extraterrestrial biological entities. I think that's probably what's going on behind the world government. At the very top of the world government, I think, are 9 extraterrestrials who are directing the world affairs. And that is incredible to think about, that we are being led as humans by extraterrestrial aliens who have been here for thousands and thousands of years. I think that's what's happening, is that we humans are not able to understand the significance of who is actually in control of this earth, because there does not seem to be any ultimate authority on the earth. There doesn't seem to be any ultimate authority on this earth. You can't take criminals to a court and get justice, because there is no justice. There is no ultimate authority. When the communists take over the Soviet Union, you couldn't take them to jail. You couldn't take them to court. Who's going to take the head of a government to court? Nobody can. And so I'm saying the earth has no ultimate authority to do anything. We're just sitting ducks waiting to be taken out. And that's what they're doing with us now. They're shutting down the United States. And remember that the United States business is business. Business is the business of America. And when we're not doing any business, that means every 24 hours we are dying. We're getting worse and worse until one day we're going to die in America. And I think that what's coming is going to be absolutely incredible for human civilization, because I know they're planning on having a virus hit China soon. The Chinese gave us those silly pandemic that they had, but there's a bigger virus coming, a big one, and it's going to hit China, and it's designed for the Chinese people to catch it and to die, because they want the Chinese people off the earth. There's too many of them, and you can't fight them because there's too many. But you can, in fact, give them a disease and let them go off and die. And I think that's what they're going to do, is going to release a disease in China that's going to kill, I would say, at least 3/4 of the Chinese people. At that point, America will be supreme in the world. The American Anglo-Saxon, what we call the white man, the Anglo-Saxon people, will be the only people left on the earth, because China and India are going to be decimated by some sort of a disease. It's coming. Watch China. Watch what's going to happen to China next year, because I think it's getting ready to be released in China, some kind of a disease that's going to spread like wildfire throughout China is designed purposely for the Chinese. And if it works, and if it does, if that's what happens, then it's going to kill off a lot of Chinese people.
Do you see this as being connected to, I mean, if we go back to the control hierarchy, you know, whether it's the 9 ETs or whoever is at the top of the pyramid, they seem very interested. Whoever's running the show seems very interested in depopulation.
They're interested in depopulation for sure. And China's number 1. And India is going to be number 2. And then comes other nations. Generally speaking, all the nations have got to cut down on humanity because there's way too many people. It's interesting that the World Health Organization a couple of years ago said publicly that all humans on the earth can be put inside the state of Texas and have a one-bedroom home or a home in Texas and 1 acre of land inside of Texas. All humans on the earth, period. Everybody that's on the earth, men, women, and children, can be put inside the state of Texas. So that leaves the rest of the world open. But you can't plant food in the rest of the world because there's just very little space for us to plant food. And so most people want to eat well. They want to be movie stars. They want to drive nice cars. They want to make plenty of money. And they want to eat well and have fresh water. We on the earth don't have that kind of resource to feed and provide clean water for 7.5 billion people. We don't have that kind of food. We don't have that much food. We don't have that much water. We're in serious trouble. And the whole world is going to find out how serious this really is when they start dying real soon. Because somebody at the very top of this world, the 9 founders, I think are 9 extraterrestrial, and obviously they don't care about the human race if they created us. They don't care about us. There's too many of us. We reproduce too quickly. So they need to get rid of us because there's too many. And they want to cut us down to 500 million people on the earth. That's what they want, is about 500 million people on the earth. Right now they got 7.5 billion. And so they got to cut us down and get rid of a lot of us. I would say 4/5 of the total world population has got to be gotten rid of. And I think that that's what's happening right now. Is they're planning with this epidemic that we're going through. This disease thing we're going through right now is part of the plan. But ultimately, it's going to be much, much bigger. It's going to be very large. It's going to encircle the earth. And all kinds of people, millions and millions of people are going to die. And when they do, it's going to leave the most important governments of the world to rule the world, like America and England. The 2 most powerful countries in the world are going to be ruling the whole world. And this whole idea is referred to as the Anglo-Saxon plan. Anglo-Saxon plan. You go on the web and you will see Anglo-Saxon plan. And then you will see a guy named Bill Ryan. His name is Bill Ryan. He has a website called Project Avalon. And Bill Ryan's talking about the Anglo-Saxon plan, a plan to destroy 4/5 of the world's population and leave only the Anglo-Saxon, the white man, to rule the world. And that's why the United Nations is in New York. Because when Rome entered Britannia, Caesar took over all of Europe and Asia. But he wanted Britannia because they had the largest shipping fleets in the world. And he wanted Britannia, Britain. And when he went into Britain, Rome set up the rule of government for Caesar in Britain. And the city that they chose, that the Romans chose to set up that government for Rome, was called York, England. Well, we have a New York, and we say in America that it's in New England. So New England is in New York, and New York finally has what Caesar always wanted, to rule the world. We have a United Nations in New York. And New York United Nations is founded, financed, organized, and directed by the Vatican, Rome. And keep in mind that the Holy Father, we call the Pope the Holy Father. Why? Because he speaks for God. He's a Roman godfather. Does that mean something to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Rome, the Pope is the godfather.
Mm.
And that's why we are now looking at world criminality, world crime, all the criminality going on. Go back and look at the Mother Church. Go back and look at the Jesuit order. The Jesuits, and of course the Pope today is a Jesuit. He's the head of a Jesuit, and he is now the Pope of Rome. The Holy Father who speaks for God, he's the Godfather. So I'm just saying that there's a real big story here that people have not even begun to scratch the surface of, about the 9 people who are the 9 brains that are directing our life. So we have 9 founders of the world that we live in. I did a lecture about 3 months ago. I did a lecture in Nevada. The city was not Las Vegas, but it was about 60 miles south of Las Vegas in Nevada. It's called Laughlin. And somebody taped the lecture and put it out on the web. I don't know if it's still there or not, but somebody put that lecture on the web without permission, I think, without permission. And it may be pulled down because it was not put up there by the people who made it. But if you could go on the web, go to YouTube and type in it, type in Jordan Maxwell, Order Out of Chaos. Jordan Maxwell, Order Out of Chaos. And you will see that there is a mega UFO convention, mega, M-E-G-A, mega UFO connection. I gave a lecture there, and you can go on the web and listen to it. And I really think everybody listening and everybody hearing this should go on the web to YouTube, to Jordan Maxwell at the Mega UFO Conference. It is called Jordan Maxwell, Order Out of Chaos. And watch it to the very end, because the really good stuff is about 30 minutes to the last 30 minutes is really, really important that you got to see. Because there I show pictures and documents on what's going on and how they're doing it and why they're doing it and who it is. And it's an extraordinary presentation. I'm glad somebody put it on the web, but I'm sure they're going to get it taken down pretty soon, because I don't think they're supposed to put a private lecture on the web without permission.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if it's still on there, but it was yesterday.
Okay.
And so go on the web to Jordan Maxwell, Order Out of Chaos. And it's at the Mega UFO Convention in Laughlin. And there is the whole story. Go back and watch it. Just go back and watch it till the end. And you'll see what I mean, that you've never seen this before. You've never heard the story before. But I show pictures and documents proving every word I'm saying.
Beautiful.
It's an incredible story.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Check that out on YouTube when you get a chance.
Well, you know, I started doing this, lecturing and talking about the things which are going to happen on the earth, and they're finally here. All the stuff I've been talking about over the years is finally here. The whole entire globe, the whole of mankind has been shut down by somebody. And we're doing it to ourselves. We're being deceived, and we're wearing masks and staying quiet and don't ask any questions. and don't look for any answers because there are no answers, and just do what you're told. And the powers that be hope you will die. Go home. You can go home, cover your mask over your face, and starve to death. That's what they want. They want you dead because there's too many people on the earth. Too many people on the earth to control. So they want to cut down on the people so they can control us a lot better. They can control 500 million. That's bad enough. But 7.5 billion, that's terrible. So they got to get rid of a lot of people because we're taking up too much space and causing too much harm to the earth. And we are using all the resources and clean water and eating the food. And there just isn't enough food for 7.5 billion people. There's not enough clean water for us to drink. There's not enough of anything for 7.5 billion people. So the gods who own us and control us, they want to get rid of the masses of people. And they're doing it right now. They want us to go home and go die anyway. Just go home and put a mask on and don't ask any questions, and we hope you die. And this is what's going on today.
Absolutely. How do you see, Jordan, you've been steeped in conspiracies and secret societies of these power networks behind the scenes. I'm just thinking of the satanic sort of networks, these people who are involved in the black magic, summoning entities, this kind of stuff, communicating with the other side of the veil. How do you feel about that side of things?
Well, I think that is exactly what is happening. We humans on the earth are being led by off-world intelligence because no human can keep control of the whole world. It's just almost impossible to even think about doing such a thing. But somebody is able to do just that. They have the intellect, they have the technology, and they have the background to actually control the human race. And they know how we think and how to get a hold of us and how to communicate with us. And I think the whole entire world of mankind is being led by extraterrestrial life forms. I keep hearing it all the time on YouTube and on television about the extraterrestrials who are here. I know they're here. I'm trying to tell you they're here. I know they're here because I've had my own personal experiences that taught me that. But if that's true, that extraterrestrials are guiding our destiny, then that means we don't have any choice at all. The destiny that we are involved in is out of our hands. We have no choice but to do what we're told to do because we are like animals on a farm. And we're being taught and treated like animals on a farm. There's a magazine that's put out by the U.S. government. I think that England also has, the UK also has the same kind of magazine. It's called a Styles magazine. Style, like the clothes you wear. It's called the Styles magazine. It's published by the United States government. And you can order a Styles magazine from the printing office. And they will tell you in that Styles magazine, it tells you what words mean in a federal court, not on the street. On the street, you understand what words mean. Those words do not mean the same thing in a courtroom. And so if you want to know, in order to be a federal lawyer, you have to get a Styles magazine and memorize it all, so that you don't use the wrong words, because the words are very important when you're in a courtroom. And it's really interesting because the Styles magazine says that you are not a man and you're not an American. If you're living in the United States, you are not an American. Americans are declared to be free and brave, but we are not free or brave. We are U.S. citizens, not Americans. Americans have rights. We don't have any rights. U.S. citizens have no rights, period. You don't have any rights. So don't go into court if you're in America. Don't go into any court and tell the judge that you have a right to do this, you have a right to do that. because actually, in point of fact, a U.S. citizen has no rights, period. That's written in the law. You're not an American. You are a U.S. citizen. And by that U.S. citizen, I mean the U.S. is a corporation. It's a company. And somebody is running this company. It's an extremely interesting story that people have never heard before. And I'm happy to be able to talk to you about it.
We're talking about being on the citizenship. We're distinguishing between the legal persons and the real men and women. It's a very interesting journey, this one. I've heard Jordan speak about it previously. He pulls it apart very well, makes it really easy to understand, and it's crucial information at this point in time, in particular when we're so intensely under attack. Jordan, I know you've got a lot to say about these distinctions that we need to make between the fiction and the reality.
Yeah, and I am not a lawyer. I have not practiced law, and I'm not practicing law now. So therefore, what I'm about to tell you, I am not advising you as a lawyer. I'm just showing you, I want to talk to the public and show them how they're being deceived. For instance, if you're in a car and you're on the highway or on the street in a car and the police stop you, when you see the red lights come on, the cop is stopping you. He comes up to the car, and he's got a set of tickets in his hand. He writes out the car and the address and all that. He's got all this information, and then he writes out this ticket, and then he signs it. Well, it's a ticket in commerce. The same thing happens if you go into a big department store and buy a pair of shoes. They're going to write you out a ticket, and you're going to pay the ticket. Well, that's what the cop is doing. The guy is writing out the ticket, and he signs it, and then hands it to you, and you sign it. But what you don't know, and no one ever told you, you are an undersigner. You are an undersigner in a ticket in commerce. You are what is called a co-signer. It's his ticket. He's the one that filled it out, and he signed it. It's his ticket, but he handed it to you for you to co-sign. And now you're expected to pay it. But if you take that ticket, and again, I'm not suggesting you do this, I'm telling you just to educate you. If you were to take that ticket and send it to the Secretary of State in the state in which you live, and tell the Secretary of State, I made a mistake. I co-signed on a document in commerce I did not want to co-sign. I made a mistake and did it. Can you do something with this ticket? And the Secretary of State will then send that ticket to the treasurer of the state in which you live. The state treasurer will then take that ticket and he'll send it to the police's house. Now the cop has to pay the ticket he gave you. He has to pay it. It's his ticket. He's the one that signed it, and you're just an undersigner. You were just a co-signer. And he has to pay the whole ticket himself. That's what they didn't tell you.
That's right.
That gives you an idea about what I'm talking about. The whole life you live is deception. Get us to pay for everything. We buy everything. They say that. When you believe something that's a lie, they say you bought it. Or you bought the ticket. No, you didn't buy the ticket. The cop bought the ticket. He's the one that signed it. It's his ticket. Let him pay it. So I'm just giving you an idea about how we're being deceived.
Well,
I'm not suggesting you do anything about it. Because you'll get in trouble if you don't want to do anything about it. You'll get in serious trouble.
Yeah.
But I've seen it done. People who know what they're doing have done it, and I've watched them do it, and I've watched them, and I saw what happened. So I know it's real. I know it really works.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to fool with it. I mean, I know all about it, but I'm not fooling with it. Why? Because I am Jordan Maxwell, and I do not intend to do anything at all, ever, with government. It is the most corrupt and deceptive, corrupt organization on the face of the earth is government. I don't intend to be any part of government. I don't want to have any tickets. I don't want to do anything for government. I don't want them doing anything for me. Because government is a trick. It's a lie. It's a group of guys getting together to control you. And me, I'm tired of having people trying to control me. So just keep it in mind that the whole world you live in is deceptive and a lie. Nothing is what you think it is, and I'm famous for saying that. Nothing works the way you think it does. Nothing.
I couldn't agree more with you, Jordan. Let's go, if you want, we can take it back a step, because the deception is something that starts basically from the day that we're born, when our parents register our birth.
Yeah, you're right.
And
when I was 8 years, when I was 8 years old, I was born and raised a Catholic in the Catholic Church. And when I was going to Catholic school as a little 8-year-old kid, the nuns told me, the teachers told us children, that there's a special ceremony for small children in the Catholic Church. And we all had to be there. And it was called confirmation service. And we all have to be there. And she said, tomorrow night, all you children must be in church tomorrow night for the confirmation service, because it's all for you children. But the bishop will be coming here from another state to officiate over the service. And at the end of the service, he may, but again, he may not, but he may ask you children if you have any questions to ask of the bishop, and he'll try and answer them for you. Then she said, but remember, you don't have any questions. You keep your mouth shut. And I thought to myself, my mother doesn't say that to me. Nobody tells me to keep my mouth shut. I do my own thinking. And so the following night, I was at the church, and when the service was over, the bishop came from another state, and the people were crowding the church because everybody knew the bishop was going to be there. And so the bishop asked the children, if any of you children have a question, I'll try and answer it for you. So I stood up. I stood up because I want to make sure everybody in the church sees me. I'm not bowing to anybody. So I stood up and I said, yes, Bishop, I have a question to ask. I said, my father works with a torch, like a welder. And once in a while, he'll let me play with a torch to show me how dangerous it is to work with a torch. And so I'm asking you, if I had a torch and it was burning fire, and if an angel appeared to me, because the Bible says the angels appear to men, if I have an angel appear to me, could I take that torch and burn him? Would it hurt him if I burned him? He said, you can't burn an angel. I said, why not? He said, because angels are spirits. You can't even see a spirit, much less burn one. If you're going to burn something, you need wood, or paper, or plastic, or something that will burn. You can't burn an angel. There's nothing to burn. He's a spirit. And so I said, well, why can't I burn a spirit? And they said, because you can't burn a spirit. And that's it. So I said, why is it I'm concerned to go to hell where my spirit will burn forever if you can't burn a spirit? And nobody in the church had ever wondered about that. Nobody ever asked that question. And the bishop looked like a deer in the headlights. And he was not expecting that kind of a question from an 8-year-old.
No,
it seemed logical to me. Why am I worried about going to hell where my spirit will burn forever if the big fat bishop just said that you can't burn a spirit. They won't burn.
Yep.
So I learned then, and that's why I started after that. As a little kid, I started dropping pieces of Alka-Seltzer in the holy water in church. And watched the adults get all bent out of shape when they saw the water fizzing.
I love that.
I learned a long time ago, adults are just grown up children. They're still children in their head. They got big bodies, but they're still just children. They don't know anything. They don't understand anything.
Yeah.
They don't read nothing. They don't care about nothing. As long as their belly's full and they're happy, then they're okay. but
Yeah.
they don't care about anything to look and research and study anything. So that's why I devoted my name and my work and myself to understanding all the dark mysteries and secrets of the world. And I started back when I was 19 years old.
Mm.
And today, at 80 years old, I've spent 60 years of my life going through all the lies and deceptions of the world, all the tricks and deceptions. And boy, I have found a lot of interesting material. And
Oh.
especially is that true in the world of religion.
Oh, yeah.
You have no idea in the world what's going on in religion today.
Oh.
It's a story that you've never heard before. What I would say is that I have said it so often that I'm remembered today by saying this one thing all the time. The world does not operate the way you think it does. Nothing operates the way you think it does. The military is not here to protect our country at all. The military is used to keep control over us in the country, to keep us quiet and keep us docile. That's why we have a military, because that's when we get out in the street, we have something called a demonstration. And when we have demonstrations, it comes from the word democrat. Democrat means mob rule. And that's when you see the mob in the street burning houses and burning cars and busting windows and setting fire to businesses. That's called a democratic or a democracy. And that's why all communist countries, from the founding of the Soviet Union back in the 1920s, when Russia became known as the Soviet Union, all the communist countries of the world became known as the People's Democratic Society. We have the People's Democratic Society of China, the People's Democratic Society of North Korea, the People's Democratic Society of Cuba. It's always the People's Democratic Society, because democrat means Marxist-Leninism, the rule of the majority. When you get thousands of people in the street and they're all on alcohol and they all got guns and they're burning and looting, that's the people are speaking. And so we call it democracy. There is no such a thing as a democracy. It's just mob rule, because the mob don't have any laws or regulations. They're just mad and they've got guns and they're burning cars. So they don't have any law. There is no rule of law. There's a democracy, and they're called Democrats. And boy, that's a subject that nobody's ever heard before. If you go on my website to jordanmaxwellshow.com, if you're looking for my website, it's Jordan, like the Jordan River or the country of Jordan, Jordan, Maxwell, Maxwell. jordanmaxwellshow.com is my website. Go on my website and you will see on the home page a link and an advertisement to join what is called my research website. I have a research website you can join. You have to join it. But once you join my research society, it's got all kinds of videos and audio and documents and pictures, all kinds of research stuff that I have found over the years I put on my research website. So go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, and you'll see my research website. Click on it and join it. And then you'll be able to see pictures and documents of the kind of thing I've been talking to you about. It's all there on my research page.
Well, we've still got a few minutes left, Jordan, so if we take stock for a second, we started out talking the power structure, the secret societies, the networks. As far as the direction of things as they're currently going, what do you think people really need to know at the moment?
I think they need to know that their freedom has gone. They've lost their freedom. They've lost their government. They've lost their country. They've lost their culture. And now it's time for you to lose your mind. So that's what's coming now. Now people are starting to shoot each other and rape each other because they're losing their minds. But you need to understand the people who are doing this to you are not human. I don't believe that we have a human government anywhere. I think that we are all being led by extraterrestrials who the ancient people called the 9 kings and the 9 rulers, the 9 gods of Egypt, the 9 kings of China. All the ancient cultures of the world seem to have the word 9 in the founding documents. And so we have 9 on the 9 feathers on the tail of the eagle on the dollar bill to represent the 9 kings that founded our world under the Roman Empire and New York, the Empire State. And if you go to history books and look it up, you will find that in Rome, the center of power in Rome was on a hill. It was called Capitoline Hill, or today we call it Capitol Hill. And in America, you have a Capitol Hill, just like they had in Rome. We have a Capitol Hill. And what was in Capitoline Hill? What was on Capitoline Hill that the Romans ruled Rome from? They had a Roman Senate. It was called the Senate up on the hill. Well, that's what we have in America today, the Senate that's up on the hill. The whole thing is based on the ancient Roman Empire. And our Mississippi River in America is the new Nile. And along the Mississippi River, you will see cities that are named off of cities on the Nile. We have Memphis and Cairo and all kinds of cities on the Nile that are the same name of same cities that are on the Nile in Egypt. We are the new Egypt and the new Roman Empire. And Caesar wanted to control the whole world. Well, now Caesar controls the whole world because it was the Vatican, Rome, under the Holy Father, who speaks for God. He's a godfather. And he set up something called New York. And in New York, we have the whole world empire in New York. It's called the United Nations. That's just what Rome wanted to unite all the nations of the world. And now Caesar runs the whole world. And we have no idea in the world what's going on. We're just ignorant, ill-informed, and unread. And it's an incredible story. I'd love for you to be able to see the whole picture. It just will take a long time to explain it to you. And that's why I'm suggesting you go on the web and look up on YouTube, Jordan Maxwell, Order Out of Chaos at the Mega UFO Convention. Go on the web and watch that hour and a half or 2 hour lecture of mine. And remember, from the half to the end is the real important part of that lecture. I start off with basic stuff in the first hour, and in the last half hour, 45 minutes, I get into the really dark secrets of the world that we live in. And that's on YouTube, Jordan Maxwell, Order Out of Chaos in Laughlin, Nevada at the Mega UFO Conference.
Thank you, Jordan. Well, that's an appropriate place to wrap it up. And I just want to thank you for not just joining me to have a chat, but for your 60-odd years of hardcore service to truth and knowledge and to humanity and getting the word out. I don't think anyone alive has been doing it as long as you or as devotedly as you have. So I acknowledge that. And I also like the little synchronicity that you started when you were 19 and I started my journey. Well, this is basically the same age. Obviously, I haven't been going for quite as long, but hopefully one day I'll be able to say I've been doing it for 60 years too.
Yeah, and it's not going to be easy. This kind of knowledge is not easy.
No.
You're not supposed to know any of this information, but I'm putting it out there for free. And for me, it's the only thing to do. I've been doing it all my life now for 60 years, so I don't care. I've reached a point in my life I just don't care anymore. What's happened to me? Well, 80 years old I am today. I'm not going to be here much longer anyway, so I figure I might as well go on and tell everybody what's really happening and tell them the truth. It is quite a story. I'm telling you, it's an incredible story. And just remember, it's Jordan Maxwell talking. And
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jordan, for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I look forward to having you back on the show one day when we can line it up. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been Truthiverse. It has been my pleasure here as Brendan D. Murphy to have Jordan Maxwell on the show. And we are on healthylife.net radio. Join me again for the next episode next week, and take care in the meantime, folks.